All right, today we're moving on to, it's called the percent proportion. So it's proportions. So it's one ratio set equal to another ratio. It is proportions, but one of the proportions is always going to be a percent. And it's going to be a percent out of 100. Why would it be a percent out of 100? What do you know about percents? They're always out of 100, right? A test, you might take a test that has 20 questions on it, but that's out of 100%. So when you're making your percent proportion, one of them is always just going to be the percent over 100. Okay? So we can think of that as a fraction. What do you know about fractions? When you first started learning fractions, they showed you a shape that looked like this. They broke it into parts, and there was one shaded. And you wrote a fraction for the shaded part. What would be the fraction for the shaded part? What would you have written? 1/4. So what does that 1/4 mean? What does the 4 mean? There's 4 parts in the whole. That's the whole, right? So 4 parts are the whole. And so the whole in a percent is 100%. We colored in the part. The part that's colored was 1, right? And so the percent that we're talking about is the part. So the percent proportion is, we are going to set it up as the denominator is the whole. So over here the whole is 100%. The other proportionate would be what we're talking, the whole of whatever it is we're talking about. The percent is a part. So this numerator is a part. So you're going to have to learn this percent proportion. It's always part over whole equals percent over 100. Whenever you set up a percent proportion, it's a part over a whole equals percent out of 100. So another way when you're reading a word problem is you're going to take this paper, take it and fold it to where that equal sign covers that equal sign. So this is just a hint. This is a hint. When you're reading a word problem, a lot of times when you're reading the problem, the is of the problem is your part. The of the problem is your whole. So you can also think about it as the is your percent and the of is of your 100. And we're going to practice with this so that you see what that means. Okay? So we're going to glue this in our notebooks in just a couple of minutes. Set that to the side. Let's look at this foldable. We're going to practice some problems with it. All right, it's a tri-fold. So you always fold the right end first. And then fold the left. So a percent is a ratio that always compares a number to 100. The symbol percent is used to show where the percent is. So they show it as the percent over 100 equals the part over the whole. It doesn't matter which side is the percent and which side is the part over the whole. So your steps, the first thing you're going to do is set up a proportion comparing the percent to the ratio part of the whole. Find a multiplication factor, find the missing term, and check by comparing the cross products. So we're going to try some of these. So if we need to find the percent of a number, so that means the missing part is the part. So this is the part, this is the whole, this is the percent, and this is the 100. So here is we're going to find the percent of a number. So we need to know the part in this problem. So the way you set this up is if I said set up a percent proportion, you would set it up like this out of 100. This second denominator is always 100. Why? Because the percent is always out of 100. So let's look at this problem. What is 40% of, or 40% of 60 is? So where am I going to put the 40 for the percent? Right here over the 100. Don't use the percent sign. Just use the 40. So now we know that's 40% out of 100%. So 40% of 60. Of is our whole. Our of is our whole. So the 60 goes down here. The is our question mark. That's what we want to find out. Our is. Our is our part. Right? Do you see how this foldable can help you figure out how to fill in the missing parts? So do we know how to solve this percent proportion now? We should. 60 times 40 is 2,400. And over here, 100 times something should also be 2,400. Anybody know what that number should be? Use your calculator if you're not sure. 24, right? 24 divided by 100 is 24. So 40% of 60 is, and that means it is 24. Questions about that? These problems, when you're just finding the part, you could do those like we learned yesterday. You could do these on a calculator by saying 40% of times 60 is, that means equals 24. So these problems you could do like we did yesterday. The rest of them you'll have to use the percent proportion. All right, 50% of 75 is, so set up the percent proportion, always over 100. What goes above the 100? Michaela? 50. So, of 75, our of is our whole, so it's our other denominator. And now what do we need to do? $75 times 50. $3,750. 3,750 divided by 100. Is that 37.5? 37.5. And so is that really half of 75? Looks like it, right? Because 50% is half. And so this should be half, right? So I'm going to double check. 75 divided by 2, 37.5, yes. So if our whole is 100% and our 75 is our whole, those should match. If this is half of 100, this should be half of 75. Everything has to be equivalent. All right, 28% of 300. Set up your percent proportion, 100. 28 goes over 100. Of 300, that's our whole. And so we need to find our part. 28 times 300. Okay. 8,400. 8,400 divided by 100 should be 84. So 28% of 300 is 84. Does this make sense? Okay, let's do the next one. So 100% goes over 100, so that's the 16. Of 50, that's our denominator. I can tell that one just by looking at it. Anybody else? Can you tell before you even do any math? Well, the 50 is half of 100. So half of 16 is 8, right? You can cross multiply if you want to. All right, last one in this section. So what is 25% of 400? Well, I know that one too. Anybody else know that one? Yes. 100. Right? To go from here to here, that way I multiplied by 4. So to go from here to here, I would multiply by 4. So it is 100. You could also cross multiply. All right, everybody good with that? Okay, let's look at the next one. Now we're going to find the percent. The percent is what's missing in this one. So we know the part, we know the whole, and we know the 100. So the part that's missing is the percent. So let's look at number 1. 18 out of 25 students have a pet. What percent have a pet? So now we're working the other way. I don't know that you've ever done problems where you had to find the percent. So again, set up the percent proportion. Now it's the percent that's missing. And now we need to have our part over our whole. So anybody know what this ratio should be? How would we write 18 out of 25? Which one's our numerator? 18 is our part, and our whole is 25. And again, we have a keyword right here with the 25, right? The of. Now we cross multiply 1800 and 1800 divided by 25. And you get 72. So what would our answer be? What percent have a pet? 72%. It's important when it's a percent, when you report your answer, you put the percent sign with it. Because it's not really 72 people, right? It's 18 people. But that out of a 100%, that's 72. That's like if there were 25 questions on a test and you got 18 right. Would you get an 18 on the test or would you get a 72 on the test? You would get a 72%. So it's important that you realize that doesn't mean 72 people. It's 72% out of 100%. Okay, let's look at the next one. 6 students is what percent of 30? Why do you think I circled the words like that? Michaela? It has our is and of. It helps us with our setup, right? It has our is and our of. So set it up like this. 100. So 6 students is what percent of 30? So we set it up as 6 and 30. 100 times 6 is 600. 600 divided by 30 is, what's the percent? I feel like it's going to be 20. It's 20%. So our answer is 20%. That's our answer. All right, let's look at the next one. 8 doctors is what percent of 40 doctors? Again, I have our 6 doctors is what percent, that's the question, that's what we're filling in, of 40 doctors. So it's the percent that's missing. We have 8 out of 40. What's that percent? So 100 times 8 is 800. 800 divided by 40. Did I hear 20%? Okay. Make sure you're putting that percent sign with your answer. All right, last one. 24 out of 60 people surveyed liked ice cream better than cake. What percent liked ice cream And then a second question, what percent liked cake? So let's first deal with the ice cream question. 24 out of 60 equals what percent out of 100? So 24 out of 60, what percent liked ice cream? So 2,400 divided by 60 is 40. So 40% liked ice cream. So if 40% liked ice cream and the rest liked cake, what would be the percent that liked cake? 60. How did we get that? 100% minus 40% equals 60%. So 60% liked cake. Everybody okay with that? Again, like I told you the other day, this is called the complement. If 40% liked ice cream, the complement is 60% liked cake. All right, everybody okay with that? Now we're going to try the percent proportion, but the whole is missing. So we're going to find the whole when we're given the part and the percent. So now it's a different part of the proportion that's missing. Out of 100, do we know what goes above the 100? Yes, what is it? 40. And now we know 8 is, and our of is what's missing, so it's 8, and it's our whole that's missing this time. 100 times 8 is 800. 800 divided by 40 is 20. So 8 is 40% of, and our whole in this case is 20. Good with that? Okay, let's look at the next one. 20 is 50% of, so our of or our whole is missing again. 20 is 50% of. Everybody know how I knew where to put those? Okay. Cross multiply. 100 times 20 is 2,000. 2,000 divided by 50 is, what is it? 40. Yes, 40. Because 50 is half of 100 and 20 is half of 40. All right, 32 is 20% of. Cross multiply. 3,200. 3,200 divided by 20. That does make sense. 3,200 divided by 20 is 160. All right, 2 more to go. 12 is 15% of. 12 is, and our is up here. Our 15% goes above 100%. 1,200. 1,200 divided by 15. 80. All right. And could you check these if you wanted? Could I say 12 divided by 8 and make sure I got 15%? 80 divided by 80. And I get 0.15, and is that 15%? Yes, it is. All right. 128 is 32% of 100. 12,800 12,800 divided by 32. Yep, 400. All right, everybody good with those? So here's where the difficulty lies. You are not going to know, you are not going to get to a section where it says, hey, you've got to find the part, or you've got to find the percent, or you've got to find the whole. You're going to read a word problem, and you're going to have to figure out what it is that's missing. You're going to have to figure out the setup. So let's look at a couple of problems on the back. And these could be any part of it's missing. We've got to read these word problems, and we've got to use the skills that we just learned to figure it out. Is it the part that's missing? The whole that's missing? Is it the percent that's missing? Will it ever be the 100 that's missing? No, the 100 has to be in every single percent proportion, right? So whenever you start it, can you always start with line equals line over 100? Yes, that's where I want you to start every single time. Line equals line over 100. You know it is going to look like that anytime you use the percent proportion. Now we're going to read this word problem and try to pick apart what it is that we have and what we still need to find. In a survey of 600 students. Is that a clue right there? That's our whole. We are asking, the whole amount of people that we are asking is 600. 80% said they liked pop music. How many students liked pop music? So we took a survey. Our whole group was 600 people. 80% liked pop music. Now can I solve this problem? So 600 times 80 is 48,000. 48,000 divided by 100 is 480, right? So, and does that make sense? This is almost 100. 80% is pretty close to 100%. 480 is pretty close to 600, right? So 480 students liked pop music. Okay, let's try the next one. 70% of Jennifer's movies in her collection are comedies. She has 28 comedy movies. How many movies does she have in her collection or in her whole collection? Right? Does that help me think about that? So, she's got some movies. We know that's out of 100%, and we see the 70%. I almost wrote 78. I don't know why. 70% of her movies, and she has 28 that are comedies out of her whole collection. Where do you think the 28 goes? Is that the part or is that the whole? Her whole collection is 28 and they're all comedies? It's part. So that's just part. 70% is 28. 70% are comedies, right? 70% are comedies. And then here we read that 28 are comedies. Does that word there help you? Okay. And so the 100% is the whole collection. And so how many does she have in her whole collection? So do you see how you really have to work to think about this part and whole? Okay. So 100 times 28 is 2,800. 2,800 divided by 70 is 40. And her whole collection should be bigger than part, right? 40 movies in her collection. All right, do you want to try this last one? Go ahead, see if you can figure the setup. Good. We'll give everyone else just a couple minutes. Anybody have the answer? Aiden, what do you think the answer is? 20%. Anybody else get 20%? All right, let's look at it. Mario spent $40 of his $200 paycheck. So part that he spent was 40 out of the whole paycheck that was 200. So what percent does he have left? 100 times 40 is that 4,000? 4,000 divided by 200 is, let's see, it's 20. %. Can I double check this right here? Could I say 40 divided by 200? 40 divided by 200. And you get 0.2. And to change that to a percent, you move that 2 places to the right and you get 20%. Okay, so we have 20% here. Let's think about it, though. We've got to think about our answer. He spent $40. So he spent 20%. So if he spent 20%, how much does he have left? 80%. That's the answer right there. He has 80% left because he spent 20%. So do you see how you had to take that one step further? So as we've been working on word problems, I've always said, go back, read the last sentence, see what it is you're looking for, and answer that. So he's got 80% left. Okay, let's put this in our journal. What are our next 2 available pages? So on 81, percent proportion on 81. The percent proportion on 81. And see if you can get them on the same page. If not, you can put one of them on 80. I think if you have a bigger journal, you may be able to get them both on the... Oh! Ooh! That went the wrong way. If you have a larger journal, you should be able to get both of them on there together. If not, put one up at the top or the bottom of 80. One minute, we're going to start the skills practice. So at the top of your page, I want you to write a hint that's kind of like our notes. So our part over the whole. What are the words that go with part and whole? Part is, and the whole is the of. And then this is the percent over 100. We have to be able to see the percent proportion on all of these. Okay? All right. It says, find each number, round to the nearest tenth if necessary. That means if you get a number that looks like this, you are going to round to this place. So that 4 would tell that 3 to do what? Stay at 3. 5 or more, raise the score. 4 or less, let it rest. That would mean that you would write that just like that. Okay, let's look at number 1. 50 is 20% of what number? So let's see how we're going to set that up. I know the percent is 20 over 100 because the 100's always there. That's a percent. That's easy. I have the 50 is, and the of what number is we don't know. Where's the 50 go? The top or the bottom? Top. And then you can solve that 100 times 50 is 5,000. 5,000 divided by 20. 250. And then write your answer over there and circle it. And remember, if it's a percent, it has to have a percent sign. Okay? You're going to work on this for the next few minutes, and then we'll finish it Monday after the STAR math test.